spy isn't as glamorous as I thought. But it isn't dull.
Well, hello, everybody. Welcome to another episode of Tuesdays with Story. Normally, this part of the show, I go first with my shilling, but I actually have a lot to say about it, and I don't want to steal any thunder from my partner. So why don't I go ahead and let my partner speak first? So go right ahead.
Well, this is most irregular, but I suppose I can go first this time. Let's see here. So, I'm DB Fastbinder, also known as Darth Bobcat, and I'm the author of the Confessions of the MAGPIE Wizard series, available now on Kindle and physical edition if you feel like it. It's basically the story of, in fact, it's related to our topic today. There's a lot of female characters in it, and I've been complimented on my characterization.
Yes. So and as he said, it's on Amazon. Link to that is in the description down below. Highly recommend buying this book. I've read a little bit of it, but what I've read so far is really good. So
right, and I totally understand. Books are more of a time commitment than comics. Yeah. Meanwhile, once I get Angel's Awakening, I'll be able to say that it's good for certain.
Yes. Yeah, yeah, and speaking of which, my name is Daniel Parker, and I am the writer and creator of said comic book, Angel's Awakening, which is currently in demand on Indiegogo. Here it is, right here. So, got a bit of an announcement to make. If you've already backed the campaign, you've probably already saw the update. But just to reiterate, for those of you who didn't see it, the print files for this book are 99% done. So I've just got one minor tweak that I have to make with one of the files, and then it's ready to go to print. So what that means is a week from tomorrow, September the 8th, I will be closing the campaign. So if you haven't back this book yet, if you haven't snagged a copy yet, you have until the 8th to get it. So
yep, and there is a digital edition that's scanty $10, which for a digital comic book that's not from the big two is not too shabby at all.
Exactly. Yeah, and also perfect for any international backers who don't want to pay shipping charges, but yeah, I mean, it's a great book, great artwork done by Bogdan Rizea, lettering by Eric Weathers, and yeah, I mean, if you can, of course, if you really like Jessica, of course, as Bobcat mentioned with the topic of our video today, yes, it is a female hero, and if you like sexy ladies, and if you want a sexy lady in a bikini, you can get a poster of her in one. But yeah, you can be in the beginning of a really great character. I mean, I think she's a great character. I mean, I created her.
But not biased at all.
Yeah, I'm not biased. I'm not biased at all. But yeah, you can be at the beginning of her story, the beginning of her journey. So, Angel's Awakening on Indiegogo. Link is in the description down below, and like I said, you got until next Wednesday to get to back this book. Yep. So as always, whenever we do our shilling, we're saying,
buy my book, buy my book, buy my book.
every time I hear that clip, I think, okay, there was a reason that show only lasted 2 seasons.
Yeah.
It was clever and well written, but I can understand why a lot of audience members wouldn't want to stick around with his voice every week.
Yeah. He's good in small doses.
Yes, he did a lot of good voice work on The Simpsons too. So
That's true. Yes.
I love. Is it John Lovitz? Yeah, I love
Yeah,
John
Lovitz.
Lovitz to death, but oof, there's such a thing as too much garlic.
Yes. What was his catchphrase on SNL?
It stinks.
Yeah, that was the critic. When he was on SNL, it was oh god, I can't remember. But anyway, getting back to the topic of our video, of course, as Bobcat mentioned, he has a book with a lot of women and a lot of female characters. He's currently writing a book, a spin-off book from his Magpie Wizard series featuring one of those said female characters. And as you all saw, I have a comic book with a female hero. So since we've written so many, we have some experience writing this, we thought we would impart some wisdom into how we, as two straight men, write female characters.
Yep.
And and if you want if you want some insight on how we do it, here's one way we do it.
How do you write women so well?
I think of a man, and I take away reason and accountability.
Well, maybe not.
Yeah,
not quite.
Yeah. So when Daniel suggested this, I thought, I never really thought of it, like how I go about writing female characters before, just because it comes kind of naturally. But then I remember all the times my writing friends will post clips from r/men what writing women, which you go through. It's like, oh my god, that's cringy. Like let's here. I'm gonna okay if I put my screen on up.
Yeah, go ahead. Hey, Ninja Toe.
Let's here. So it says I'm still sharing my screen. Okay, we got share. I guess I'll stop it and start it again.
Yeah.
So this website, it was actually hard to find one that wasn't creepily adult. I'm going to not say certain words because YouTube doesn't like certain words.
Yes.
Do you think I'm sexy? She asked as if she were Rod Stewart or maybe his latest wife. Mary couldn't help noticing that the answer to the question was a definite yes. Hannah had an awesome body, bouncy hoo-ha out of the trees, and an ass as smooth and white as Frosty the Snowman's illegitimate mistress. Amazing, Mary thought. But why was she being asked to? And then it thankfully goes off the page.
Yes. Oh, jeez. Yeah, that's depending on what kind of book you're writing, I don't know if I don't know if I would. I wouldn't use such language.
It's basically how to put this. Part of how you write female characters is kind of based on your audience to an extent, because there clearly is a market for badly written. Well, there's a market for badly written fiction to start with.
Yes.
Hello, Twilight.
Yeah, 50 Shades of Grey.
Yeah. And I would actually call that an example of r/women writing men, because oh boy, those characters are weird.
Yeah. So Edward's got a question here. Do you write the character, then think of the appearance, or do you start with the appearance? Do you draw famous people or people in life when coming up with female characters? So In my case, I actually thought of the character first, and then, or I thought of like her personality and everything first, and then kind of went to how I wanted her to look. Because it started because a lot, as most people probably know, if you don't, the series started out as novels. So, and then eventually I decided to do them into comic books, and so that was when I kind of went to thinking about how I wanted Jessica to look, how I wanted Sky to look, Laura Stone, etc. And yeah, I do with some of the characters I did kind of look at kind of use like real life celebrities. I will say in the case of Jessica, she's or at least her face anyway is largely based on a model, a Ukrainian model. Her first name's Lula, and don't even ask me to pronounce her last name because I would butcher it. But but then with Sky, I based her off of at least no, yeah, well, I would say her body too. But with Sky, I based her off of Eva Green, specifically how she looked in Casino Royale. And with Laura Stone, I based her off of Sharon Stone.
In my case, one of the characters does have a real life equivalent. The singer and idol Ai Shinozaki is the basis for Mariko, one of the older characters in the group. I typically would start with kind of when I think of like a new character, I tend to start kind of with, okay, what's the role they're fulfilling in the story? Why do I need a character here? Uh-huh. Sometimes it's okay. The ranks of the villains need to be a bit bigger. What can I come up with on the fly? Sometimes it's, I need a major character for this position here. The physical appearance does come into it a little bit, insofar as I don't want to have characters who, even though they're in a novel, I don't want to have too many samey looking characters.
Yeah,
because if I ever do make that Magpie Wizard manga, which would require a lot of money and effort, then I want to make sure that the character designs are solid to start with. Mm-hmm. And then sometimes it can really vary. Sometimes I go, sometimes I'll have an idea in mind for an appearance, and then I'll backtrack from the personality. But usually I kind of go role in the story plus personality and kind of extrapolate from there, like what would somebody like that look like? Because your activity level, diet, preferences are going to make a difference on how you look, obviously.
Right. Yeah.
So like if I have a character, like I'll use a male example here. One of the characters is Asahi Maki, who's kind of the one of the world's heroes, kind of the All Might of the Magpie Wizard universe. He's described repeatedly as being a kind of like a bodybuilder going to seed, where he has a bit of a gut that goes away when he goes out on campaign, but returns when he goes back to his teaching job for a while. Not like fat, but like he clearly gets doughy at times.
Yeah. I've known a few guys who've looked like that in the past.
Yeah. For the character of Kyo, I want her to be somebody who you could overlook. So she's very slim, not pretty short. Yukiko, Marsai will tell you that she's kind of a little terror at times. And so she's intentionally the shortest member of the cast because it's like a Napoleon complex thing.
Yeah.
But like the height, I want to say that the height came after I'd kind of started marking down the personality traits. Yukiko is Bestico. Yeah. And so the topic of writing women is just, it's like as much as we play that joke with Jack Nicholson there, it is like it's funny how people freeze up about it, because it's like, look, women are like the big secret is that women are people too. So they just got to have drives and interests and a backstory, and the only difference is like I say, in many cases, from your perspective of your story, the main difference will be which bathroom do they go into, and who might they be attracted to, and what kind of character design are you going for? Because there are plenty of stories where you could easily interchange a man or a woman from particular roles.
Yeah. Case in point, the Mass Effect trilogy.
Oh yeah, that's a good example.
Yeah. Shepard can be a man or a woman, and they basically have the same. Virtually the same experience.
Right, like slightly different dating pool, but otherwise.
Yeah. Dialogue's a little different, but
Yeah. Yep. So, and I would say that there are what I would call the two mistakes you could make when you're writing a female character. Let's see here. Go ahead and, if you wouldn't mind, return the screen to me.
Sure.
So,
wonder why it's not letting me do it here. Oh, I see. Here we go.
All right. So, problem. What I'm going to call, and this can be reflected in the personality too, but also it can be reflected in art styles as well. And art styles are easier to show examples of, so we'll just stick with that for a moment. So this is Quetzalcoatl from the comedy manga series Miss Kobayashi's Dragon Maid. Now, Quetzalcoatl, as you may notice, is approximately 90% boob, rough estimate.
Somewhere around there.
Yeah. Now, it's a gag series, so that isn't necessarily a problem. It's because it's like everything's exaggerated. Just in this case, her feminine traits are exaggerated for comedy. But I would say that she is having watched a good chunk of the anime, she's at risk of being kind of a one-note objectified character.
Yeah, and it's easy to see how that would happen.
Yeah. Like, this is not a character design that you could throw into a serious story and have the audience take her seriously.
Right. Yeah.
Unless it was like a story about, I don't know, the struggles of dealing with gigantomastia or something like that.
I don't know too many stories with that theme.
There aren't many, and there's a reason. And the funny thing is, like, it's almost like your main audience there would be women who can relate to that and perverts who are into that.
Yeah, sounds about right.
So not exactly the biggest audience in the world.
All right.
So you kind of want to build your character design around the audience that you want. Women, like a lot of women who aren't in the mood for something kind of silly, will look at this and get offended. Just because it's like, okay, so she's basically a toy. Okay, gotcha.
Yeah.
Now, there is an equal but opposite. Now, I'd say like this mistake is kind of more common in internet original works and anime and manga. Yeah, the opposite problem is something you commonly see in Western works, especially from Netflix, Marvel Comics, and so on.
Yes.
Okay, Edward. So I'm just going to address that critique right there. I know the audience I'm shooting for, and also you can totally read the books and imagine them however you want.
Yeah,
and not every character looks like that.
Yeah.
Plus, no character is. Not every character is. Actually, there are no characters who look like Quetzalcoatl here.
No.
So, the equal and opposite mistake is what I would call being afraid of being yelled at on Twitter. which is more common for Western productions these days.
Yes.
Case in point, our girl Tila here, off to the right. So
yeah.
So I think we all know how. So I think at this point, if you see a character who has the side of her head shaved, you basically know. Okay, I can skip this.
Yeah. Okay, this she's a bitch. Move on.
Yeah, and the plot's gonna bend over backwards to make her seem great, and she'll like. By the way, I think this is like a small animation error. This arm, this will be like the tricep. Or no, the bicep is on the
bicep,
front. Right?
Bicep, tricep.
That's right. Bicep, totally normal size. This side, nearly as wide around as her head. I don't know if that's a perspective thing or what.
Yeah, or just bad animation.
Yeah. Or, to be fair, animation, it's easy to pause on a moment and see something being stretched for the sake of action.
Yeah.
But still, like, yeah, you just kind of, you're so afraid of people thinking that you've gone into the object trap, that you've gone into the opposite mistake, which is the please don't yell at me. She's a strong female character.
Yeah.
Please don't cancel me.
Yes.
I want to have a job.
Yes. I like strong women. Please. See.
There's no hair on the side of her head. Seriously.
Yeah.
Okay. Cara Dune's are. Yeah, although I will say in the first time Cara Dune showed up in Mandalorian, I thought she was going to be that character because she kind of showed up, kicked Mando's ass when he was in the Beskar armor.
Yeah.
Like, it felt like she should have come back with a broken hand.
Yeah.
After punching him right in the face a few times.
Yeah. But
she redeemed herself on her second appearance.
Yeah, I would say, yeah, Cara Dune's the exception to the rule.
Right. So maybe you shouldn't necessarily skip it entirely, but we'll call this a warning flag.
Yeah, Batwoman has this problem. Yeah, I've never watched Batwoman, but I've seen.
Haven't.
Yeah, yeah. You get like 200,000 or 300,000 people who watch it. But I've watched as heel versus Babyface's reviews of it, and I've seen enough of it to know. Yeah, I don't want to.
Yeah, no.
I want no part of that.
Yeah, Batgirl is in fact better than Batwoman.
Yes, I will take that. Yeah,
and I would say that Batwoman is also confounding it's adding to the problem of, or there's an extra ingredient to this problem is, please, I'm making a diverse character. Please don't yell at me.
Yes. Yeah, I have a African American woman who's bisexual.
Please,
yeah.
Please don't cancel me. Anyway, yeah. So thankfully, like the two approaches, like these two mistakes, have the same, I would say, fundamental problem, which is either not wanting to see women as characters or being afraid of how people will respond if you make women characters.
Yes.
Is the best way I would put it. It's
yeah.
Like, think about your favorite female characters. They probably are at least somewhat interesting or pleasant. They have foibles and flaws and character traits, and actual character traits, not just, oh, her type is the guy who happens to be the self-insert character in my harem novel.
Yeah.
And she has black hair. That is her personality.
Yeah. There needs to be more to her than just what she looks like and who she sleeps with.
Yes, exactly. And then, so those are the two problems, or those are the two fatal flaws I see in writing all the time. Mm-hmm. So the way I would say to approach it is, like any other character, you start with, okay, what are their motivations? What do they want? What is their role in the story? Like, Is this a teacher, a student, a soldier, a baker, a stay-at-home mother, a child? It just kind of, you build from there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I hate to go back to my own book, but with Jessica, she's a spy, and so basically just go from there. Okay, well, what are spies like? Okay, they sneak into places. They know how to fight. They know how to use guns. They're go on from there, and they're masters. They can be a master of disguise, or they know how to blend into places. You know, and you just kind of go from there, and then basically what I did was I just developed her personality from that, and then obviously gave her other traits that make her basically flesh her out a bit more, as a, to give her a bit more little more depth, instead of just making her this boring spy girl with a nice body.
Yep. And there's nothing wrong with that.
No, there's nothing wrong with that. Yeah. but yeah, like, and the other thing too, and Bobcat mentioned it, like, think about, like, like, with your character, like, look at, like, other, like, media. I would say look at other, look at how other people wrote female characters as well.
The 80s and 90s seem to be kind of a sweet spot for it in movies.
Yeah, and I was and speaking of somebody who's big in the 80s and 90s, James Cameron.
Oh yeah,
I will say James Cameron probably writes female characters better than a lot of filmmakers in Hollywood. I mean, you've got Sarah Connor. You have well, even though he didn't create the character, but I would say he made Ellen Ripley, or expanded on Ellen Ripley, from where Ridley Scott made her.
Mm-hmm.
And I would say even Jamie Lee Curtis in True Lies, like her character, like, she went from being this just kind of very meek, meek housewife to, going on spy missions with her husband, who was a spy,
Yep. And so we're having a little bit of a discussion in there, and I would say that you both have a good point. Marseille is saying that his characters could be switched, and any gender, their goals and personalities would not change, and that's a good way to go about it. The other one is, well, but that's not really how life is, though. So
yeah.
So I would say,
yeah.
Go
ahead.
Oh, sorry. Just as an immediate example that popped into my head, if you're doing a period piece about the Revolutionary War, you're probably going to have a hard time making a story where a woman is like a general under George Washington.
Yeah. Or well, and conversely, you're not going to have a whole lot of if you're making a World War II if you're writing a World War II story about a army regiment, probably not going to be a whole lot of women in that in that battalion.
Right. There might be some in the support services, but even
right,
But conversely, people are going to respond differently to a story about a woman who becomes a housewife versus a man who becomes a house husband.
Mm-hmm.
So now, Marseille, as I understand, and of course, he says, of course, it's more complicated when you're writing about women-specific stories and problems, where talking to real women and doing your research will be paramount. Right. So it's like I said, there's good points to both of your comments. It's like there are going to be some gender-specific stories, and Marseille, in your case, as I recall, you're writing kind of more action-oriented stories, if I recall correctly. So that's there's going to be less differentiation there, I think, than if it's like a period piece or like a domestic drama or something like that.
Yeah. Yeah, and I would also say too, like I said, depending on the story you're writing, like if you're writing something that's very gender specific when it comes to women, the other thing you can do, and this is something that I've kind of done as well, it is think of the women in your life, past and present. You know, the good ones, the bad ones. You know, family members, former girlfriends, um, you know, friends or whoever. You know, and you can take like different aspects of their personalities and put them into characters that you're creating, and you know, and obviously, like if there was a woman in your life that you thought was just an absolute bitch, and you want to make her the bitchy character, there you go. If you've got a character who's if there's a woman in your life who is very warm and loving, you've got a warm and loving female character.
Right. And it's how to put it. There's I would say that like the biggest thing that people feel like, I don't know why people get in their head that this is hard to do somehow or different to do than for a man. It's just like I think there's just a lot of expectations, and there are some kind of benign sexists out there who don't really realize it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, well, and it's like you said, there are a lot of men, like with this image here. I mean, there are a lot of men who are just really afraid of writing women, and
Right.
it shows, with the character.
Yeah, what's really hilarious is that we talked at the start of we had the clip from that Jack Nicholson movie about take away the reason and sense of reason
and accountability,
and that's what Tila is. Because like from my understanding, because I haven't wasted the time watching this show, is that He-Man dies.
Yeah.
He-Man dies, and the problem is that she's talking to his parents, and the issue isn't your son is dead and we've lost a protector. It's he lied to me.
Yeah.
And when she comes to him in the afterlife, you lied to me.
Yeah. Like priorities, lady.
Yeah, there's bigger things going on than your fifis.
Yeah.
So and that kind of brings us to another thing, is like the whole, you have to write a strong female character. I don't think anybody can actually define that.
No, not yeah, because that's a very subjective term, because it could mean a strong female character for you and me would be completely different to somebody else. Like a lot of people would consider Tila to be a strong female character, whereas we don't. A lot of people would consider Ellen Ripley to be a strong female character, and a lot of people think that she's not. So it can be very frustrating at times, and I know there are probably going to be a lot of people who will say that about our female characters, that they're not strong female characters, and I would say, get your head examined,
or define your terms.
Yes.
Okay. Because one person might have a reasonable one, which is, well, she should probably be able to have some agency on her own and use her skills and traits the same way that the male characters would. Another person would go, well, I mean, she's shown having flaws at some point in the story, so she's weak.
Yeah. And Marseille brings this up here. Strong female characters aren't allowed to be weak for a moment, not allowed to cry, not allowed to lose, especially to men. They have to be the best all the time. That's how many writers think, and that is the wrong way to do it.
That's 100% the please don't cancel me, please.
Yes. Well, I can honestly say that with Angel's Awakening, Jessica does have a moment of vulnerability.
Which is good.
Yes. And I would imagine in Magpie Wizard, many of the female characters have their own moments of vulnerability and doubt, and
all the time. Yeah, in my case, like what I did was I kind of took some of the like harem anime tropes that have been like smacked into my head for the better part of a couple decades. And went, okay, what would somebody who is like, why would somebody be like that? It's like, well, okay, so it's a common stereotype where you have like it's the kind of nerdy character who's slim and shy. Okay, why is she like that? Oh, you've got the kind of motherly one who won't ever really make a move on the guy that she seems to like. Okay, why would she be like that? What in her past is keeping her from being open about her feelings?
Uh-huh.
And so just kind of So I started from like a very, women as objects kind of perspective. And here's the tropes. How do I make how do I flesh that out?
Yeah.
Which clearly has worked, because that's a common thing I see in the reviews, is that all the characters feel unique and realized. So I'll take that as a positive.
Yeah. Yeah.
Now, you had mentioned that you wanted to talk about this character. Hey, Ultimate Agent.
Hey,
You
Ultimate
mentioned that you
Agent.
wanted to talk about this character from the perspective of why is she there?
Yeah. So yeah,
I think we've identified a few reasons that she's in the story.
Yes, we've got. There are a few reasons that the one and only Lucy Hartfilia of Fairy Tale. Of course, if you haven't read Fairy Tale, or if you haven't watched the anime, Lucy is the celestial wizard. So she's got the keys on her belt there, where she can summon all the celestial spirits, and that's really all she does.
She's kind of there to be kind of grumpy and to occasionally lose her clothes for some reason.
Yes. Yeah, and she'll pop up in a bikini, or pop up in a cute little outfit here and there, and she'll have a bunch of guys hitting on her, and then
she'll get angry and ha 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 ha.
Yeah, and then Natsu is completely oblivious to her. He doesn't see the her glorious features and everything. But yeah, she's just, she's a cute blonde with a nice rack, and she's
which is a shame, because I warned him I was going to talk about this. So the previous series, in fact, let's do this live.
All right.
The previous series actually had a very similar female lead that Hiro Bashima had done, called Rave Master. Now, if you look at Ellie here, you would think, oh, okay, same sort of thing. No, Ellie has a backstory. She often can be kind of the grump love interest, but the difference between Rave Master and Fairy Tale is that Rave Master was his first series, and he had spent a lot of time planning. Fairy Tale, if you read the first volume of the manga, he literally says, well, I spent all this time planning on Rave Master, and I kind of want to go back and do a Rave Master prequel at some point, but, I kind of just want to do something that's kind of easier, and we'll just make it up as I go along.
Yeah.
Marcel, that's the thing. Like, that's the thing, is like that's really sad about her, is that she's presented in the first couple of seasons as if she's the main character. She's the one who you meet the Fairy Tale Guild through.
Yeah, and then she kind of gets lost and with all the other characters, and she's always being saved, protected, and crying, and always bitching. Yep, all that.
Well, Ellie here, the original blonde of Hiro Mashima's series, it's actually kind of funny. He recently did a crossover between his new series Eden Zero, Rave Master, and Fairy Tale. And What's hilarious is that all of the Rave Master characters immediately take charge and are the brains of the outfit in all the different combinations they do. It's like Ellie here is keeping the new girl and like having to like. It's clear that Lucy is dumber than Ellie.
Yeah.
It's even the new girl, who's kind of like a modern wannabe influencer YouTuber ethot, seems to be smarter and more capable than Lucy at times.
Yeah. Jeez. Yeah.
So it's just kind of sad. I recommend it, by the way. Anybody who likes shonen manga, go back and take a look at Rave Master, just because it has a lot of epic moments. Longer series, it's probably out of print at this point. I really wish I'd kept a hold of my copies, but I foolishly thought I sold them to half price books at some point. I think it was just like a matter of not wanting to move them somewhere.
Yeah.
But it's Ellie is like, she's clearly a supporting character, but she has enough point to the story, and a lot of it actually hinges around her, that she kind of avoids the object trap.
Yeah. Yes.
Omar, sorry, you've read Rave Master? Yeah, that's because you're a man of culture.
Yes.
So, meanwhile, what's kind of interesting is you can also kind of get a sense for how to write female characters by reading stories by women, about women, for women.
Mm-hmm.
These are a couple of characters from a recent manga/anime I've been enjoying, called Kageki Shoujo. And that's actually, if for whatever reason you don't feel like bugging the women in your life, hey, how do I write you?
Yeah.
Or you just want to see a different perspective, like looking for, again, targeted at starring women series can be kind of instructive. Like I can't say enough good about Kageki Shoujo. It managed to handle a stepfather molestation subplot that involves a lot of characters in a lot of different ways, with a lot of grace and quality.
Mm-hmm.
But like she I forget their names because they're long in Japanese. My apologies. She's she's big and boisterous. She's reserved and sad, and it's just fun watching them bounce off each other.
Yeah. I haven't seen that myself, but I might have to give it a look at some point.
Yep.
Yeah.
Added to the long thing.
Yes.
Now another thing is, so I will admit I didn't watch much of Bleach, but we were talking about character design earlier. There are ways to just do a sexy character and have her fit your universe,
Mm-hmm.
and be practical. Like, someone told me her name before, and I forgot to save that because I'm totally a professional, guys.
Yeah.
Okay. Rangiku. She's clearly there to look good, but she basically has the same outfit as everybody else, just with an open thing there.
Mm-hmm.
Meanwhile, character costumes, you have to wonder why. Emma Frost, the White Queen from X-Men.
Yeah.
Look, Emma Frost is a layered, deep character with a long history going back to the 1970s. This is more okay. I'm sorry. I love sexy superhero costumes, but you do have to ask. Okay, do you just not feel cold?
Obviously not.
No. Or okay, so your plan is to distract people with your body, right? Is that, or are you just like? We were talking earlier, like there's a certain audience. Like there's definitely an audience for Emma Frost here, but
Yes.
you're also chasing away another audience at the same time, I think.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, like you said, I like looking at her. She's gorgeous, but yeah, it's kind of like there do need to be some limits as to. Of course, this is coming from somebody with a character who, uh, you know, her costume is more revealing than this. But there's a reason for it.
I'm not even sure if I would call it more revealing than that.
Really?
I mean, she doesn't have a midriff.
I was talking about Sky.
Oh, okay. Well, Sky's a villain.
Yeah.
And it's kind of like how. Thank you, Rob Liefeld podcast, reminding me that this exists. It's kind of like how Conan and Superman give a different feel.
Mm.
And there's going to be some people who don't want to see a big shirtless guy wandering around.
Yeah, that's very true. Yeah, I would agree with this. Yeah, somewhere less clothes, just yeah.
Right. It's just that if you go too far in that direction, if you go into the Quetzalcoatl area, don't be surprised people are going like, man, this hentai has an awful lot of plot in it for some reason.
Yeah. Just make sure you're writing for the right thing there.
And BRK24, you have a good point. Female designs often don't match the tone of the writing.
That's very true.
This is because, if we're honest, a lot of artists just like drawing attractive women, even if the situation doesn't call for it.
Yeah. But yeah, I agree that a lot of guys don't necessarily like seeing their shirtless guy walking around for the whole time.
Right. When that's although it was a whole genre at the time, so maybe
Yeah. I will say, and I hopefully well, she's not going to watch this, but like my mother in the 1970s when she was in college, she read the crap out of Conan. Yeah, because she went to college in Laramie, Wyoming, which, if you know anything about Laramie, Wyoming, there's nothing there. There's nothing to do, and that was all. And all my mother had was comic books. So she would just read. That's all she did. She read comic books.
Well, that's interesting. Minor side story. Apparently, the editor at Marvel at the time was so cheap that he only he would only budget $200 for the whole Conan license, and I don't know on what terms, like how long that license lasted, but it apparently the Conan people said yes when some other smaller barbarian that they had wanted to get as their backup if Conan said no, said, no, that's too little, because the Conan people said, well, it's not about the money. It's about, if we suddenly have Conan on every single newsstand, that can only help the book sales.
Yeah.
Apparently at one point, Marvel managed to have 3 different Conan books at the same time, plus an expensive magazine called Savage Sword of Conan. And it was like their number 4 best-selling book for big chunks of the 70s.
Wow.
So, and maybe I'm wrong. Maybe shirtless is the way to go. Just just fan service it up. Just know your audience.
Yes, yeah, Red Sonja.
But on the other hand, you couldn't do like a very special episode of Red Sonja.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Oh man. Yeah.
But yeah, I guess that's my long-winded way with pictorial evidence of going, know your audience and know your tone.
Yes. And obviously, I would also say too, the design of the character can also speak to their personality, or the way the way their manner of dress speaks to their personality.
Right. A character who's clad shins to neck with nothing showing is a very different character than somebody wearing, well, the Emma Frost outfit here.
Yes.
And I actually use that with my characters too. They all have different levels of comfort with how much skin they have showing.
Yeah. Yeah, and I will say with Jessica, she dresses very I would say masculine. She's a t-shirt and jeans girl, but she'll wear a t-shirt showing her midriff. I mean, she's not afraid to showing a little bit of skin, as if you've seen her costume.
Sometimes the design speaks more about the writer. BRK24, I feel personally attacked.
Is that a personal attack?
I will say that more so than I'd say that you can tell, you can probably like figure out what a author's type is by what they make the gender they're attracted to look like.
Yeah, and with both of us, you could probably, if you look at the various characters that we have, you could probably figure out what we're attracted to.
Yeah, but there's a Venn diagram, but we have different preferences. We've talked about it.
Yes. yeah, we have discussed that in the past. Yeah, it's.
Well, anyway, that's enough about design. So we've talked a bit about characterization. We've talked a bit about design. We've talked a bit about tone. I think that what we kind of keep coming back around to is you're making it too hard on yourself.
Yes.
Would like to see said Venn diagrams. Well, we both agree that my character Rose is attractive.
Yes.
But Rose is not like my ideal type. Meanwhile, she is much more close to Daniel's ideal type.
Yes. Yes. Fit, but fit with curves.
Yeah. So that. And you know what? Let me go ahead and unshare the screen for a second here. Might as well show them what we're talking about for people who haven't seen the art collections.
Yes.
That's here. Da-da-da. And we'll go with this one. And it's thinking. Okay, there we go. Da-da-da. We'll go ahead and share the screen here. Oh, so let's see, did I accidentally hit my mute? Nope. We have the same headset, so he can attest to how easy it is to accidentally hit the mute button on this thing.
Oh yeah, I know. It's just it's right here. Yeah.
Which is convenient, but also inconvenient. But yeah, so this is Rose, who is more his style.
Yes.
Rose is the star of the upcoming Weather Wizard books, which are the spinoff, which shows that I'm not biased.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, Mariko here is more my style. Kind of that like big sisterly type.
Yeah. Which is nothing, I mean, I think Mariko is attractive too, but yeah, it's
right.
But yeah, Rose is more my yeah.
Yeah. Meanwhile, Emma here, well, Emma is the only comic book character I'm aware of who canonically has had some work done.
Ah.
She actually made a reference to that. She was dating Cyclops at the time when Jean Grey was dead. And she made a comment like the best body a surgeon could build me, and I can't win against a dead woman.
Oh, okay then.
So I always thought that was kind of amusing. Is that okay? We know canonically.
Yes.
Other people, you just have to assume it.
Yeah.
While we're at it, here's Yukiko.
Okay.
The one with the Napoleon, the one with the Napoleon
Napoleonic
complex.
Yeah.
Yeah, Arthur. The problem with sisterly figures is yes, the Ara everywhere, Burke, 24, and sisterly figures are. When I say sisterly, I mean like big sisterly picture, or big sisterly figure, kind of like motherly, but not. Actually, I guess both could be awkward depending on how you look at it.
Yeah.
Let's vary up what we're looking at here.
Yeah.
We'll show Ellie. Ellie doesn't get enough love.
Yeah. 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 So we got a few minutes left, so I guess we can start working towards our conclusions here. So if you're trying to write if you're a man like us and you're trying to figure out female characters, there are a number of ways you can ways you can figure out how to do it. Obviously one way is figuring out what the story needs, or what type of female character does the story need, and then figure out their personality, and then then how they look like, and so on and so forth. And you can also look to other past female characters that have worked well, or past female characters that haven't worked well, to see what to do and what not to do, and also use real life inspirations if you can.
Yep, that's an excellent summation there. And again, like I could keep saying, don't make it hard on yourself. It's don't see women as an object. Don't be afraid of writing a not strong woman, because no two people agree on what a strong female character would look like.
Right.
So just write a character.
Yeah. Yeah, and I would and I'll also add, don't worry about Twitter.
Yes. Yeah. Twitter is not your audience. Twitter is the anti-audience equation.
Yes. Yeah. Exactly. They don't matter. They're not going to. If you have a comic book, they're not going to buy your comic book. If you have a novel, they're not going to buy your novel. So just best to ignore them and move on.
Yeah. And also, the less you're on Twitter, the less of a target profile you have too, because they have a harder time finding dumb stuff you said. Yes.
Yeah. In my case, I might occasionally like I might like a political tweet here and there, but other than that, like I try to keep my head down as much as I possibly can on Twitter.
Yeah, Twitter. I have I have a firewall between my for fun Twitter and my business Twitter. So it's very much there to keep me out of trouble.
Yes, yeah, exactly. Yeah, and it's just best to avoid the seedier aspects of Twitter.
Well,
jeez.
Well, that's what the archives are for.
Yes, you can go back and go back and watch it. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, so we have a couple minutes left. Does anybody have any questions? Because this is the biggest audience we've ever had. So thanks everyone for coming out.
Yeah. Thank you very much. We appreciate it. I think we had as many as 6 people in here, though. Yeah, Serena. I totally agree with that.
Yeah, and that's like my attitude on there too. Is basically you want to be like a nice cheerleader almost. It's like if somebody is like trying to make something creative and fun, go for it. Be encouraging. But if someone does something you don't like, there's no reason to go after them.
Yeah, I just just let it go, and
Maybe just mute that person if they keep annoying you politically,
yeah,
or
yeah,
keep expressing bad takes.
yeah, yeah, and just best to avoid any type of confrontations. Yeah.
Let's see here. Okay, so we got a question here. What female character stood out the most in all media and why? Ooh.
Ooh. Let me think. For I will say probably Motoko Kusanagi from Ghost in the Shell,
Okay.
because she's very mysterious, and but she's very tough, and she also she struggles with your humanity, and just she has a compassionate side, but at the same time she's not afraid to rip the lid off a tank and take it head on and that sort of thing.
My answer is I would say Rogue from the X-Men, because she's a fun, extroverted character who can kick ass with the rest of them, but she has her problem where she can't touch people, or she starts to absorb their everything and kill them. So it's so she has a lot of vulnerability and psychoses related to that. So she has like a good mix of strong female character traits and human vulnerabilities. There's a reason that she's always been a consistently popular character in that franchise.
Yeah. Plus, she's got that sweet Southern accent.
Yep, there's that.
Sugar.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, just give your female characters some besties.
Yeah, that's a good idea.
Yeah.
It is easy to like just have. That's actually a good idea for all your characters. Is it's if you're writing from like a first person perspective, make sure they have friends that are outside of the universe of that main character.
Yeah. Here's another one from Arthur. What do women writing men always get wrong?
I would say, okay, so there isn't a problem of being canceled if you write men wrong the same way.
Right.
So that flaw isn't really there. Like nobody's really afraid of writing men, I would say, in the same way. There is the same sort of object problem that you get with some romance fiction. Like
yeah.
The rich billionaire who decides that he likes your mousy self is kind of like the equivalent of the the blonde with the nice rack who is just there to occasionally need saving.
Yeah. Yeah, and I would also say too, this isn't always, but a lot of women tend to I will say probably more so nowadays than in the past, but women writing men, women tend to emasculate a lot of male characters.
Right. Like that, I guess that's kind of the version of being afraid. It's not so much afraid of external pressure. It's more like they're kind of afraid of the more masculine aspects. So I think it's sometimes right what are basically like a bad woman character is a man with a female body. A bad male character can be, from some of these writers, a woman in a man's body.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that can really be a problem. Jesus.
I guess asking the hard questions tonight. Next question.
Yes. Yeah. I'm not going there.
This is a family show, maybe.
Yeah, maybe. Probably. Let's see. Most romance novels have this brash masculine who becomes vulnerable for her and only her, which is, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, part of it is like in in a relationship story, you do kind of have the two characters rubbing the rough edges off of each other.
Yeah, yeah.
Uh, I will say that I've joked on occasion that the most fantastical element of Magpie Wizard isn't the demons or the door or the orcs or the magic. It's the fact that I can change him actually works out.
Yeah. Yeah, it's which which is just completely asinine.
All right. Well, one more question.
Oh no, we're not doing that. No. Okay. Tomboys. If a tomboy is written well, I don't have an issue with them, because a woman could be a tomboy but still be feminine, which is a mistake nowadays that's being made, is making tomboys too masculine.
Right, and tomboys are in fiction can often be a lot of fun, and it is actually a pretty easy way to understand if you have a character who kind of is this kind of outgoingness with athletic tendencies. Why, if you have especially in children's fiction, why are the guys letting this one girl hang out with them?
Yeah, it's I would say if you've got a group of, especially if you're doing a story with kids, and you've got a group of boys and then you have the one girl, it would make sense that girl would be more of a tomboy.
Right. Okay. Just because it's a good question, Marseille.
Yeah.
Tsunderes. Soon don't.
Yeah, it depends on the tsundere. I could go either way, but if she's too much trouble, then no.
I think that Sundarism, which I almost consider a medical disorder in some characters,
Yeah.
it's kind of an easy way to make your manga last the exact amount of time you need it to last.
Yeah.
Because most romance comedy stories, it's like the forming the relationship phase, and it ends as soon as things are official.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And so, you always have to ask the question: okay, why don't people just tell each other how they feel? And a tsundere character is actually a really easy way to extend that series a little bit, because you can go it's like, well, why doesn't the guy confess? Well, the guy thinks he hates her. Why doesn't the girl confess? Because she's too shy to admit why she's bullying him.
Mm-hmm.
So it's kind of an easy out. And of course, the thing is, people love watching jerks become not jerks over time. So a tsundere character is very easy to humanize over time. Because you can give her an incident that caused her attitude towards men or people. Why can't she trust people and let people in? And then eventually you can start healing that. I've joked to Magpie Wizards that Soren is tsundere towards the whole concept of existential good. So
yeah.
I'm not the only one who said it.
Yeah. Jeez. I actually kind of want to go back to with Edward. I will say, if you back Angel's Awakening, there's a very spicy page in there. Not too spicy. Not like, but there's some eye candy in it.
Yes,
just saying.
But eventually, the covers of Magpie Wizard combo packs that I'll eventually start putting out will start reflecting the art that I was showing off earlier.
Yeah. It's just.
Yep. Yeah, Marseille knows what's up.
Yeah.
I'll admit I stole that line from a review on Royal Road. So.
Okay.
All right.
Yeah.
Well, guys, thanks everyone for coming out.
Yeah,
Love,
yes. Thank
love seeing
you.
the new faces.
Yeah, I do too. Yeah, thanks for tuning in, everybody. We appreciate it. If if you haven't already, let me just pull it up real quick. But just a quick reminder to all of you that Angels Awakening is, of course, link is down below to back this campaign. Campaign will be closing out 1 week from tomorrow. So,
Yep. So if you only have money to buy one thing, pick up Angels Awakening. Magpie Wizard will still be there for you. It's not going anywhere.
yeah. But links to both of those are in the description down below. As always, my name is Daniel Parker.
And I'm DB Fastbinder. And remember, guys, like, subscribe, hit the bell button for notification. And if you don't want to do that, I am on Substack as DB Fastbinder, where some of you have already signed up for my little newsletter, where I post links to remind you about the podcast every week. I post updates on Magpie Wizard stories, and eventually you're going to start getting chapters sent right to your phone on the next book. And also, I just post the occasional review of things I think are interesting. So again, Substack, DB Fastbinder, free sign up.
Yeah, go check that out. All right. Once again, thank you all for tuning in and watching us. Before I go, of course, I will leave you with the wonderful trailer for Angels Awakening. Good night, everybody.
Good night.
The life of a spy isn't as glamorous as I thought. But it isn't dull.